Welcome back, one and all, to Trekyards. I'm Commander Cockings.
Yeah, I'm Captain Foley. I had a brain malfunction there, working at what on earth you were saying, huh?
So, Stuart, tell us what you thought about this episode, number 18.
Well, it was good. I think they achieved both plots well. I think having now let it sit in my brain for a couple of hours, the only thing I wish they'd done that would make it pop in a way that I didn't think it did fully would be learn something new about Chakotay in the scene where you see Chakotay stuff, because they just told the same thing again, and so it had a coolness and then a flatness at the end of it. Apart from that, I liked it. The ending was fantastic. Diviner was interesting. I love seeing more of the Dauntless Bridge. It was overall good. Yeah. What about you, Commander?
Well, I liked it quite a bit, actually. This was way better than last week, and this was a really fun episode. I really, really did enjoy this one. It's just hearing Janeway act kind of wonky. See, a lot of times my brain didn't quite associate that Dal was in her body, and I kind of forgot that at some points, which was weird. I mean, because I'm like, Janeway wouldn't... Oh, that's not Janeway. Like, it was just a weird disconnect for me, which is odd because we're used to this kind of thing in Star Trek. But overall, some really great stuff. A lot of great tech stuff, merging the warp bubbles and all that kind of... And then another at warp spacewalk kind of thing was also very cool. And of course, the end, just... And also the surprise of the Diviner. Your kindness kind of shocked me, so I'm going to let you go.
Yeah, I like that scene in theory, but it's a bit random as how's Janeway going to get out of this? Oh, the villain's going to let her loose because reason. Like, I understand the reason, but it's so out of left field of like, weird edit. I wish there'd been a scene earlier with Diviner saying, damn, I hate them, but I can't help but appreciate them.
Well, there was kind of a scene where they're like, maybe we should toss her out an airlock, like Dreadnought says, and he's like, yeah, but a missing admiral would raise some red flags.
Yeah, lack of murder was different to support them. I know what you mean, but it was not far enough.
It was super subtle. It was super subtle, and yeah, he would have said that regardless, I think. So it didn't quite do anything, but that's the one thing that kind of...
It's like we need to skip 9 minutes of screen time we haven't got. Let's do a quick get out of jail free. And again, where is the nurse staff? People have said this before in sickbay. There's never anybody there that would stop them, and should be to have security, you'd assume. So, but I mean, the whole episode revolves around as often brain swaps, they revolve around the crew not realizing until way later the obvious. All of them know Janeway. She's obviously not Janeway from the first 2 minutes. She's not even remotely close, and they know sci-fi enough to stop her instantly. Like they went on way too long of accepting Dahl's non-Janewayisms. Not knowing that Ensign's name is like, well, you're not Janeway, then are you? Like, there's so many things it's a conceit of the medium, but I wish they had not dragged that out so long.
There are some fun moments though, like the doctor's like, as your doctor, I order you to drink this coffee. I'm sorry for giving you tea as of late. But then the other thing is, one guy is like, I found Admiral Janeway. Well, beam her directly to the bridge. When does that ever happen? And how did the guy in the corridor actually do that? Did he tap his comm badge and talk to transporter room to have the transporter room do it? Because he didn't. So I don't know. There's some weird stuff in here, but it's really fun.
And not just that, but they took a comm badge off the entire episode, and that's when you say someone is somewhere, it's the comm badge.
Yeah, but on the ship, the ship would be able to track her bio readings and know where she is.
In which case, you wouldn't need to say, where's Janeway? You'd know where her comm badge is and her body is.
You'd look for the comm badge first.
But if you could do both...
But yeah, the first officer didn't know that she didn't have a comm badge. Only Ascension knew that, so... That was weird, yeah. Actually, now that you said it.
And then if the comm badge was in the room, then go to the room and say, locate Janeway body, she's in the cupboard. So you can't have both... And both make sense. Either you can beam without a comm badge, I agree you can, but then they should have been found instantly. That said, I'm assuming that Dahl's mind connection is what awoke Janeway. So they kind of jump started that. That wasn't very long after the last part, I'm assuming. I mean, the whole thing, they're being chased at warp. It's kind of odd to see an episode where it's a high-speed chase where no one's moving, in essence, because they don't... Once you stop attacking, there's nothing you can do effectively. But since they were actually going to a place, you couldn't really stop them. So it was a nice well, I guess we'll keep chasing them.
Yeah. Well.
And Joey said I'll go for a nap as well. And no one says, well, we're in a chase situation. Nap is not a good plan. We're literally beside them. Dear me.
Yeah, but them being merged in the same warp bubble was cool. Yeah, and actually that scene with the Dauntless just like slowly approaching and like kind of passing beside I love that, and then be able to look out the window. Glad they included that as well. That was kind of a neat touch. The Doctor was the first one to see the kids, so
I don't know if the scaling is such that would be able to be done. I'm sure if I put that in 3D, they have to be obscenely close, and I'm sure they have better eyes in the future. But I was like, well, it doesn't quite work, and they were very clear not sure where the hell the room is. Look, window, where? Shush. It's fine, but I was a little bit comedic of like, oh, I can see. And also, it also made the tiniest mockery we've been saying for a long time. Just wave, do the charades. Like, they literally transmit information between two ships. To it, all they have to do is also have a pad with letters on it. Like, there are easy ways of not sending information. They did 3 of them this episode, pretty much. Like, the mind meld thing as well. Like, there's literally.
I'm so happy though that Janeway finally knows what's going on. And the Janeway to Janeway confrontation was a little bit disappointing to me because it wasn't really Janeway. But the fact that they changed the character model to that kind of helped me, I think. And the fact her Admiral overrides can't take control of the ship, but she can fix the hologram. She's a vice admiral. You think they'd have overrides which would be able to take over another ship.
Well, no, the impetus
especially the prefix code. Just use the prefix code.
No, the impetus is that the construct is blocking those codes.
Okay, for sure, I guess.
Yeah, but it's not blocking low-end stuff. But I don't think for a second that you can purge the hologram bit without the construct reintegrating into it instantly or very quickly. Clearly the construct is doing its thing. It's in full control of the ship, actively piloting, shields are up and responding, whatever. It's not a passive entity. So
the holographic matrix system isn't disengaged from the rest of the ship either. So yeah, it would definitely find its way in again.
Yeah, especially since it knows that worked. That's the entire reason they got a movement to the plan. So, trusting Janeway, it felt very much like a silver bullet of, now Janeway's cured forever and ever. I'm thinking, until 5 minutes from now when she'll be corrupted again. So I'm hoping they address that that was a temporary fix.
The other weird thing to me was the protostars going into warp. No one initiated that. No, the kids.
No, the construct. It's taking ocean space to take them to a fleet to infect people.
But there's a Federation ship just like right there. Like, just that's your mission. Just
but
contact
as
that ship.
we've said a billion times, it wants to spread. But yes, it should be contacting. I mean, obviously, it should accept the hail. Again, you can't have both ways. It can't be automatically going to a place to infect people and not infect the people that's right next to it. There was no reason for it didn't, for sure. Now, it would be fine if they had said, lock out all access. Like if Dauntless had said, there's something wrong here, close all our computer networks. Fine. And obviously a fleet would know to do that. But they warned the fleet, so if they'd done that, the fleet would have known. So they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. Because it certainly lowers the tension if the construct is not attacking a ship whose sole purpose is to attack Federation ships. For the entire story. With every option. And full control of the ship.
Yeah. I did like the little conceit of the phasers were making contact. That's how the body swapped. I thought that was kind of neat.
It's real fun. Real fun.
And then Janeway as Dal says, well, Dal just needs to fire at us again. It's like, well, why don't you just fire at them and do it that way? All it takes is like 1 or 2 phaser hits. You can transfer the thing that way. So... Yeah, I agree.
Well, I mean, the rules are difficult because Janeway wasn't pushing the button, so her body is not in contact with a thing unless the ship is the thing. In which case, yeah, just shoot them back. Would take 1 second.
That was the case because she was in the closet.
Yeah,
and Dal wasn't. He was just on the bridge, like.
And you could, I suppose, say that maybe they couldn't shoot through Dauntless's shields, but then but then they shot through. They didn't shoot through Protostar's shields. So, Stuart, you're super right. They should have shot back, and Vice Admiral didn't think of that. Wow, that was easy. Oh no, they can't access the ship because the construct. That's what it is. The controls are locked out. That's what it was. Although if the construct was fired back once, they'd also do it accidentally, I suppose. So thank God I didn't fire back. But, I mean, giving Kate Mulgrew more to do is fantastic. I mean, I'll commend her acting. Talk about, we know her as Janeway, we know her as other things from other TV shows. She successfully played a 15-year-old alien genetic hybrid man. Her tone shifted higher, and, I mean, really well done. Gold star, honestly.
What did you think of the whole, I'm sorry, Gwen, but Dal's an augment. They're illegal. He'll never be able to get into Starfleet. I thought that was kind of like, you didn't need to say that at that point, because that's going to get back to Dahl by the next episode, obviously. Exceptions can be made. Honestly, I think Starfleet's too rigid in that whole.
I think it was super nice of her, to be honest, and say it in the way she did, to not.
Well, the way she said it was nice. It just seemed weird. That's all. These
rules are super important for a reason. I mean, if you've lived through a Third World War, you would also be similar, and they've never really strayed from it. I guess Bashir was a obscenely specific exception, etc. But Dahl certainly is nowhere near close to being that an exceptionable exception. But I like that. It doesn't mean he can't be in the Starfleet space, in Federation space, helping people. He just can't enlist in Starfleet. Maybe he can be an advisor, helper, or even be a science, not experiment, but help in some science lab somewhere. It's kind of good. It redefines the game of Janeway likes him, I have to be honest. Because the smartest thing for her to do would be to lie to them and say, yes, come join Starfleet. We'll do it. I'll give you all captaincies. And they're like, what? No, I thought it was very, very brave of her and very good. Because, having her no longer be the enemy.
It just seemed like it was fine. It just seemed like a really weird time to do it. Like, deal with this after the situation is resolved and make sure that the kids are safe. Then say, okay, here's the deal, guys. It just seemed like with everything going on. And
there wasn't really time pressure for any of them. There was never any real time pressure in the scenes. There should have been, but there wasn't really.
Well, there would have been in real life. So it just seemed like an odd placement of it. I had no problem with it being said or the way it was said. All I'm saying is it just seemed like, oh, by the way, before I jump out into space, he won't be able to get into Starfleet. Bye. I could have waited. You didn't need to tell her that.
Well, waited. They've not got a way to stop the construct. So there is no. The current situation is get Janeway back aboard Dauntless. There is no solve to the situation. They didn't work anything out. So who's to say? I don't know. I thought, how many times have we seen Discovery where they're having a firefight with shields down to 5%? We see 9 or 10 impacts and they're having a conversation about nothing, and it's like, that's far worse to me. But I do see what you mean. But it's like,
And the diviner letting Dal go and saying if my mission fails, well, hopefully your mission will fail, because apparently you want it to. But first of all, that was kind of weird. Second of all, the whole just take care of Gwen for me. So now Dal's going to be able to tell Gwen that, your dad still cares about you. Your dad's not a bad guy. He's kind of realized that Starfleet aren't the evil organization that he thought they were for so long, I guess. I don't know.
Although actually it's doubly strange because Diviner's letting the Admiral go, who he knows is in charge of the ship. If shit was Janeway, all she'd do is go to the bridge, tell them that Diviner and the people are baddies, and then put them in prison. He doesn't know that she's not her, and luckily leaves. But so his plan is just to let her go for Dreadnought to capture her again in 2 minutes when they take over the ship. There's no plan there whatsoever, except for.
And he doesn't tell her that Essentia's on his side. That would have been helpful too. And then Dal would have known, but Dal couldn't communicate that to Janeway.
But Janeway knows, though.
Interesting.
No, but Janeway knows because she saw the lady transform. So real Janeway entirely knows. As soon as she leaves the sickbay, she will go to the bridge and say, find the Dreadnought and lock him up. It's a very odd move that doesn't connect to his real motivation. Now, if he had said, and I liked this a lot until he said, look after Gwen, because that doesn't connect very well at all. If he'd said, if our plan fails, which implies I'm about to take over your ship right now, it's got to be what's going to happen. We said it last week, but it's got to, surely. Otherwise, what's the point in him being there? I wish he'd said, if all else fails, I've put in this Icelandic ship the location of Solom, make sure Starfleet never gets there. It's like 09 with Nero. He never once goes back to Romulus to tell them to don't do this, this, and this. He only ever does this other thing. It's like, but go back to Romulus, tell them. He's not actually trying to solve the issue, he's trying to destroy the thing that caused the issue, but maybe just tell them about the issue as well. But he doesn't. That's plan B. Tell Admiral not to go to Solom. Done.
That seems more pressing in such a situation to say something like that than
look after Gwen.
By the way, Dal's an augment. You won't be able to join Starfleet. Just some things seem more imperative. Anyway,
well,
I don't know.
Yeah, like I say, it was because the story needed him to escape versus what he'd actually say. But I think, as we've said, he's transitioned to being a good guy, so the importance of him letting Janeway go is more important than the reality of the scene. And also, how did the Diviner walk freely throughout the ship? Sickbay is quite an important place. You'd have, and Janeway's there, again, you'd have guards outside. And Dorian Man was quite precise in previous episodes. There'd absolutely be security. And since the Doctor wasn't in sickbay to keep note, why is Diviner going to sickbay by himself to see nobody?
With a captured, locked down admiral in there with no security.
Yeah. And if there's one nurse in the sickbay, you can't do the plan, so weird for sure. But the plan, though, the touching warp bubble hand finger, pretty fun. I mean, I'll give them full credit for visually great. I preferred real warp rather than whatever the hell they're going through. Would look nicer to me, but at least it was dynamic. But cool plan. Would have been very hard to do live action, so animation was their medium, and they've used it to the fullest. It was never seen that before.
And seeing the fleet show up, fantastic. We didn't get any close-ups. Well, we will next week for sure. And I know that Admiral Jellicoe's there on one of those ships. We're gonna see more. We're gonna see more of him, I'm sure. So, yeah, Janeway's in the brig. Don't know where Dreadnought's at this moment.
I assume taking over the ship.
The Dauntless seems ridiculously understaffed. Honestly. But I'm glad that the first officer and stuff is still in charge, and they haven't got taken over yet.
And we saw a Bolian, and we saw an Orion, wonderfully varied crew of aliens. That was nice.
And seeing more of the bridge, seeing the consoles, like there were so many great shots. And you got an MSD of the Dauntless with no actual words. It's not like Lower Decks would actually have the words of what things are. It's unfortunately Prodigy's always just lines of like they're supposed to be text. Although actually in the beginning when they were getting hit, when Jankum was talking and you could see the floating holographic displays, you saw the numbers going down. And then the next time he was talking, some of them were going up, another one was going down. So it's like the shields were like fixing themselves and also getting. That was really well done, actually.
Well, you would think with the 2450 sentient AI construct controlling the ship, they could probably repair the shields quicker.
Yeah, well, I mean, shields automatically repair regardless.
But quicker.
Yeah. But it's just cool to see the numbers doing what they're supposed to do. It's so subtle and they were reversed, so it's hard. Not everybody would notice it, but
that was a good episode. It was definitely them far stronger story-wise than the last couple, for sure. Hopefully leads into a really epic two-parter where, Dauntless gets taken over, Prostar gets taken over, big fleet battle, I guess. Jellicoe, as you say, Janeway escape. Yeah, there's a lot that could happen. Depends how big they want to go for the end of the season. Because it was also quite a cheap episode, which I commend them for, because all it was standing sets. Which I said last week should have been a bottle show, because it actually looks better. Seeing Dauntless Bridge in full 3D is far more satisfying than seeing, for me personally, Lighthouse for 6 shots and then walking in. I'm going to forget that instantly. Dauntless Bridge is going to stay with me, and then Corridor and Sickbay. Like, there's nothing new here, and for me it worked a ton better because it was adding detail to the world. So hopefully that means next week we're going to get some more stuff. Maybe, I mean, there's a Sovereign, Centaur, Defiant, and other Akira. I wonder which bridge we're going to see if Jellicoe's on it. I mean, they've got to recreate one of them, so that'd be cool to see. I assume a Sovereign, but that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But yeah, this was a fantastic, fun episode. Had action, had good pacing, had funny moments.
And Mulgrew, man, kicked ass. As did the Dalektor. Both equal ass. Just it's funner to see Mulgrew play weird.
Yeah. Anyway, let us know in the comment section what you guys thought about this episode. Did you like it? Did you not? Was it meh? Or join us for our live later today where we talk about that in detail, break down every scene. Should be a really good discussion for this one. So if you can join us, please do. In the meantime, hit like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click the bell notification icon so you don't miss any of those lives because we love doing them and we love hanging out with you guys.
And support us directly in this channel. We make all this content free for you guys. Often daily, at least every Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Thursday, and super chats on the lives we do on any topic. Or if you love a specific topic, come in and put 15. Hey, who knows? Every Saturday, join in into the comments and watch the video and say whatever you want. It helps analytics. And donate if you can via PayPal at trekyards@hotmail.com or monthly on Patreon or join the channel on YouTube. All great ways and all add up to any and all you can do. Thanks so much.
So until next time, he is Captain Foley.
He is Commander Coggins, handsome, amazing.
We need to get a plane ticket so we can, change this back. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.